So, folks, we have to talk about Graham Platner. Now, many of you know I have been, a fan of his campaign since it was announced. I think I thought it was a pretty good model for how a campaign should be run, what kind of policies should be pushed, etc. I thought he was doing a pretty good job too. And then Janet Mills entered the race, and a bunch of Democratic establishment Oppo research got dumped on the race. And so for the last week or so, we've been kind of dealing with that opposition research hitting the news. And it's, at first I was kind of like, oh, well, this actually makes him seem more relatable. Like it would be kind of weird for a Marine to come through, deployment to Iraq and not have some problematic opinions. And I'm glad this is all getting aired now rather than later. For which, by the way, I am still glad that we're seeing these skeletons come out during the primary process rather than during the general election, at which point we'd be kind of boned. That being said, at first I was like, oh, okay, so he's on Reddit talking about being a communist. Oh, okay. And he has some problematic opinions. Or had some problematic opinions and statements. He released a video addressing that 4 days ago. It's about 5 minutes long. I figured we'd start by watching that and kind of walk you through the events that have transpired since then to today. So let's take a look at his, addressing the allegations, right? I should say.
As you've probably seen, there's a story that's broken about comments I made on Reddit in an earlier part of my life. As I read through them, I read things that I absolutely do not agree with. I read through and I see things words and statements that I abhor. I also see the trajectory of my life. When I got back from Afghanistan in 2011, I stayed in the Army for another year. I got out in 2012. Some of the worst comments I made, the things that I think are least defensible, that I wouldn't even try to defend, come from that time. I had spent the bulk of my 20s in the infantry, deploying overseas, fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. The infantry was a very male-dominated place. It's a very masculine world. When I was in, women weren't allowed in the infantry. It's changed now, and that's a good thing. But when I got out, I still had the crude humor, the dark feelings, the offensive language that really was a hallmark of the infantry when I was in it. I made comments that I'm not happy about, that I do not agree with, but they came from a time and place in my life. And as I watch, or as I read through the comments that were released, I can see myself changing. My language gets less crude, my thoughts and my feelings get a lot less kind of rough around the edges. I do get almost more disillusioned though, and it's important to know that this was a time in my life where I was struggling deeply. I got out of the Army in 2012. I had PTSD. I had depression. I had all of the things that come with serving in a war, in 2 wars, that I eventually began to not believe in at all. It left me feeling very unmoored. It left me feeling very disillusioned, very alienated, and very isolated. And I think like a lot of people, I went on the internet to post stupid things and get in fights and find some form of community in some way, some outlet for my feelings, for my rage, for my isolation.
And I do want to pause right here and say, I find this particularly understandable. I think this is probably something we're going to see more and more as we go forward into the future, where we have candidates that have extensive online histories where almost their entire lives are posted online in publicly searchable and available fashions. I'm going to guess that this is something that's going to become commonplace, where people are going to be able to dig up dirt on each other pretty easily in this way. And so there's part of me where I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. I think that this this explains a lot of it. It doesn't, of course, excuse it, but it explains it, and it's being delivered in a way that makes me believe that this is a man who has grown beyond those comments, right? So this was my thinking up until today. But we'll we'll keep going, we'll let him finish, and then we'll get to today.
It wasn't until I found actual community that all went away. And the reason that I stopped posting on Reddit around 2020 and 2021 is because that was the point in my life where I had found this. I had moved back to my hometown. I'd found community. I'd started a business. I'd met someone to fall in love with. I'd been able to really begin to feel connected again. And not only did it let me feel connected, it also gave me a lot of hope. I had spent years being entirely isolated and feeling very, very angry about the system that had made me go through that experience. Coming back to Maine, moving back to my hometown, reconnecting with the community that I'm from, building real friendships, building real networks, real relationships with people, that helped cut my disillusion. I went from thinking that people were bad to knowing that people are good. I went from thinking that there was no hope to having nothing but hope. A hope that is rooted in the fact that it was in my community here in Sullivan, Maine, that I got to come home and build a nice life. That all changed for me, but it took me a long time to get there, and it was a very long journey. And along that journey, I was in different places that I'm not in now. I had different feelings that I don't have now.
And I do want to say, I think that this is representative of a not insignificant portion of folks who serve in the military, come home, and have to deal with reintegrating to civilian life. I think that there is a lot of parallels between his story here and a lot of other people's stories. Ashley writes in chat, he's describing how a lot of military are, where their minds are at, and it can be bad, often leading to crime, suicide, and yes, questionable statements. I saw this IRL on army posts. Yeah, and in the past, what was said or discussed or at army posts wasn't posted online in a searchable format, right? So I think that this is probably more common than a lot of people realize. And I think it is a common arc for specifically veterans who become leftists, veterans who come back, disillusioned. They realize that they have been used. They realize that this system has, crunched them up, spat them out, and left them to, try and make do. And I think that is, not obviously that's not good, but I think that it is a reality that we on the left should engage with and understand without writing off all veterans as evil agents of imperialism, because I think that's just inaccurate. And it's not useful. So we're almost done here.
I had different thoughts and opinions that I certainly don't have now. But I am very proud of the person I am today. And it was that whole journey that got me here. And while I won't defend things I said in the past, I will just say that if it wasn't for that entire journey, I would not be who I am today, and I'm incredibly proud of who I am today. And so for those of you who have read these things and been offended, have read these things and seen someone that you don't recognize, I am deeply sorry. It's something that I see someone that I don't recognize either, not in who I am today. It is somebody that I do recognize though. Somebody who is struggling, somebody who is having a very difficult time settling into a society that he felt betrayed by and left behind by after having to go fight in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm sorry for this. Just know that it's not reflective at all of who I am. I don't want you to judge me on the dumbest thing I ever wrote on the internet. I would prefer if people could judge me on the person I am today. And I just want to say thank you all very much for your time.
Now, I would say if that's where this all ended, I think he'd be totally fine, right? I think that there are a number of red flags there, but I think that there is an explicable amount of circumstance there where I'm kind of oh, okay, I can understand how this happens. And also, I come from a conservative background. Like, I grew up in fundamentalist Christianity. My dad doesn't believe in evolution. Like, believes in like end times biblical prophecy related to all the nations, solidifying Israel. Like, that's the kind of background I come from, and I've obviously grown beyond a lot of those ideas that I had when I was younger. And like, I used to have a lot of ideas about LGBTQ people, or rather, a lot of uncertainty about LGBTQ people. And then I learned and I grew. I turned out I was LGBTQ people. And so I know that people can learn and grow, and I'm all for embracing that ethos when it comes to political candidates as well as just other individuals. Now, I do want to say that is not where the story ends. That is not where we are ending today, because knowing that there was Janet Mills and the Democratic establishment were combing through a lot of Graham Platner's history, Graham Platner and his team realized that there was going to be a video of him probably being leaked to the public at some point in the future. And so he decided to try and get ahead of it during his appearance on Pod Save America. And we're going to play a little bit of a clip here. This is from, again, Pod Save America, and about 19 minutes, 30 seconds in. And I'm just going to play it. Just going to play it. I'm just going to mute it because it's just Wrecking Ball. Okay.
Watching there was Graham wearing just his boxer briefs.
Silkies. Those are Marine Corps running shorts.
Pardon me. Silkies. First of all, great song choice. Tell us what's happening there, where you are. There's probably some listeners who are very confused. And the reason that we are showing this video is because...
Yeah, I can see some of you in the chat right away understand where this is going.
At the very end, you can see a tattoo on your chest. And I've been told that some of your political opponents are telling reporters that that tattoo has a Nazi affiliation. And I would like to know, is that accurate? Are you a secret Nazi?
I am not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism.
Wait, what is it? It is a Totenkopf. It is the skull and crossbones used by the SS. It's maybe one of the most, charged symbols from World War II. It's yeah. So it's like a very explicit Nazi symbol, and also called a death's head. Yeah. But here is his explanation.
Right.
And anti-Semitism and racism in general. I would say a lifelong opponent. The video is from my brother's marriage to his wife, to my sister-in-law, who I was serenading. I told them that my wedding gift to them would be my embarrassment. And so I performed a lip sync version of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball to my sister-in-law on the day of her wedding to my brother. And now, of course, that embarrassment, which was mostly just held internally in the family, as we always watched that video at family events and laughed, is now shared with the world. So I feel like I'm just going to give them a wedding gift for the rest of my life. Which is great. I love them. The reason, by the way, the reason of this video, Saturday was their 10th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
And my sister-in-law was showing everybody the video.
Nice.
And I was like, oh yeah, there it is. There's me being embarrassed. But what we all...
So yeah, I think what happened here is he saw this, realized like it would probably be leaked, and then like talked to his team, and they tried to get ahead of it by going on Pod Save America with it to be upfront about what was happening.
So, yes. So in 2007, I was a machine gun section leader with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. We were on the 2-2 Mu, and it was my 3rd deployment. My previous 2 had been to Fallujah and then Ramadi, 2006. And we went ashore in Split, Croatia, myself and a few of the other machine gun squad leaders. And we got very inebriated. And we did what Marines on liberty do, and we decided to go get a tattoo. And we went to a tattoo parlor in Split, Croatia, and we chose a terrifying looking skull and crossbones off the wall because we were Marines, and skulls and crossbones are a pretty standard military thing. And we got those tattoos. And then we all moved on with our lives. And I actually joined the Army after that, where I got, I had to go to MEPS. I got screened. Later on, I got a security clearance and a full screen when I went to work for the State Department as a contractor doing security for the ambassador to Afghanistan in 2018. And I've also just lived my entire life like a regular person with a skull and crossbones on their chest, which by that I mean taking my shirt off, performing Miley Cyrus songs in front of my extended family, and to my sister-in-law, and just taking my shirt off at the beach.
Right, presumably going to the beach, yeah.
I mean, I went to college. I went to the gym. I did all the things. And at no point in this entire experience of my life did anybody ever once say, hey, you're a Nazi. It never came up until we got wind that in the opposition research, somebody was shopping the idea that I was a secret Nazi with a hidden Nazi tattoo. And I can honestly say that if I was trying to hide it, I've not been doing a very good job for the past 18 years.
Yeah.
So
you're a self-described communist, but also a Nazi.
I will say the fact that I've managed to go from communist to Nazi in the space of 4 days, according to the people who are trying to do this to me, I find to be quite a spectacular turn of events, but
So, yeah. So there are a number of questions here for me. And like I'm seeing some people in chat going like, well, I literally didn't know what that I didn't know that was a Nazi symbol. I don't even know what that symbol is, never seen it before, etc., etc., etc. And like, keep in mind, guys, he's talking about 2007. So in 2007, there was not really a way to like just go and Google something on your phone because we didn't have smartphones yet. 2007 was like the year the iPhone released. And so like he and his drunk Marine buddies, I can totally buy the idea that a bunch of drunk Marines went ashore and like got shitty tattoos and said, oh, look, a skull. It looks scary. Let's get that one. And like, that's understandable to me. We're talking about the era where like girls were getting like, cheap white slut in kanji written on their necks. And like, they wouldn't find out for like 10 years because there just wasn't really a way to check that, really. They were just like, oh, it's kanji, or oh, a tribal tattoo. And so like, I kind of get it in that regard. And so my issue here is less with the circumstances around him initially getting it, because like I can understand like people making stupid decisions. A good example of this might be a lot of the goth community in the early 2000s. Are any of you familiar with like the spider web tattoos that were on like the elbows? You might have remembered like scene girls or like goth girls getting them back in the day. Oh yeah, those. Yeah, those are were popularized and gained traction because of white nationalists in prison. It was a white nationalist symbol from prison gangs. And so a bunch of like, goth kids got a bunch of tattoos on their elbows that are from literally the Aryan Brotherhood. So like this is a time where you wouldn't just be able to like Google that. And so like I get it, but Disaster Suplex asks what I think is the core question here. Why wouldn't you get that covered? because I find it hard to believe that in the like almost 20 years since he got it and now like no one's pointed it out. And I guess my question is, how long did he know about this? And if you know about it and you're planning on running for office, especially like a national level office, like there is a level of irresponsibility to you not getting it covered before you run. He could just have a giant black hole over his heart. He could just cover up the bones and it just be a skull, or like give the skull like a mustache. Like I don't know. There's a bunch of different ideas here where you could alter and change this and get it either covered or removed. Like, and so part of me is like, why didn't you do that? Because he has, by the way, since announced that he is getting it removed. You know, Platner says he'll remove tattoo that resembles Nazi symbol. However, his former political director says that he knows damn well what it means. So, like, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and for me, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, there are too many red flags here where I'm kind of like, I can grant him this much, but like we are now extended beyond that. And I'm kind of like, yeah, no, it isn't covered yet. GGGGG. Like it isn't gone yet. It isn't covered yet. So that being said,
racism is the root of so many things. Eeny meeny miny mo. S original phrasing was, pick an N-word by the toe. I am not joking.
It's true. It's true, Jazz Dog. One of the reasons why I do not care for Eeny Meeny Miny Mo as a even as like a sing-song child game. But like I'm kind of in the boat of like, I think that there are a lot of reasonable explanations for a lot of these things, but it's kind of gotten to the point where there's been a lot of reasonable explanations, and I'm not. I don't feel comfortable as a content creator like cheerleading this guy, and I felt the need to put out and do a segment on this because I literally like 2 or 3 days ago put up a segment talking about how actually I think he's totally fine. And yeah, I think we're now at a point where I can't stand by that anymore. I got to eat a little bit of crow, you know?
He still has my support, as it just seems like an idiot thing a drunken Marine or soldier would do. Again, his path mirrors mine. Drink water, chat.
And that's fair, Simric. I'm just kind of at the point where I'm like, I can totally understand the sequence of events that got him that tattoo. What I don't understand is someone who is a self-described military buff would not get it removed or not get it altered so that he's no longer... Like, I'm sorry, if I learned today that a tattoo I had for the last 20 years was actually a Nazi tattoo, I would be fighting the urge to just cut it off with a knife. Like I would be wanting to flay that part of my skin off because like I can't abide that. And so like there's a part of me where I'm like, okay, so what we're being asked to believe is that he only recently, when these allegations surfaced, learned that it was a Totenkopf. That's what we're kind of being asked to believe here. You know, he's going to go remove it. You know, this Politico piece talks about it a little bit here. It was not until I started hearing from reporters and DC insiders that I realized the tattoo resembled a Nazi symbol. Platner said in a statement to Politico on Tuesday, I absolutely would not have gone through life having this on my chest if I knew that, and to insinuate that I did is disgusting. I'm already planning to get this removed. So, okay. Maybe he made it all the way through and didn't know. But I'm also kind of like, okay, but your campaign didn't catch this? You like no one around you caught this? Seems catchable. Okay? And also I'm just gonna throw this out there, okay? This is a report from an outlet, again, I've never heard of before. So I'm going to say, take this with a gigantic grain of salt. This is from an outlet, Jewish Insider, right? And it goes down here, you know, and talks about his appearance on Pod Save America. And then it gets down here. But according to a person who socialized with Platner when he was living in Washington, D.C. more than a decade ago, Platner had specifically acknowledged that the tattoo was a Totenkopf, the death's head symbol adopted by the infamous Nazi SS unit that guarded concentration camps in World War II. Quote, he said, "Oh, this is my Totenkopf," the former acquaintance told Jewish Insider recently, speaking on the condition of anonymity to address a sensitive issue. He said it in a cutesy little way. The exchange occurred in 2012 at Tune Inn, a popular dive on Capitol Hill, where Platner later worked as a bartender and was a frequent patron while he attended the George Washington University on the GI Bill, according to the former acquaintance. He would often take his shirt off, drinking with friends late at night in the bar, and at least on one occasion had stated he knew what the tattoo represented, the former acquaintance recalled. Platner gave varying accounts of the image during this time, saying at one point he was aware it was a Totenkopf when he had first gotten the tattoo several years prior, and at another time claiming he had not known, according to the former acquaintance. And so, like, I'm just throwing this out there. Like, I don't know if this is accurate. You know, we're now going into, like, oh, his former campaign manager, and also some anonymous person who claims to have known this from, 13 years ago. We're kind of in the territory of, I can understand how someone would innocently get a tattoo like that, but now we're in some territory beyond that where I'm kind of like, I need to know more, and I need to see more. Like, it's not enough for me to see him go, after he's outed for this, go, oh, I'm going to get it removed. I need to see more, and I don't know what that more would be. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, this article might be totally fake, sure. His former campaign manager might be really butthurt, and like, saying, like, casting aspersions. But I'm kind of like, I am uncertain enough that I'm gonna step back from this and stay in my lane a little bit more on this one. Because I'm gonna need to know more about what he knew and when he knew it, and I'm gonna need him to address this more. Because, like, the article could be 100% true and it would still fit his current story, outside of him claiming to Politico that he didn't know until, like, this started coming out during his campaign. So I'm of the opinion that, like, yeah, I like a lot of his policies that he's putting forward, but this is a pretty huge, to me, it's a pretty huge deal. And I am going to want to know more, and I'm going to want him to address it better. Because that first video that got posted of him standing and frankly addressing his previous posts, that to me was satisfactory for those posts. We're now talking about something that is a lot worse. You know, we talk about Pete Hegseth all the time having, like, white nationalist tattoos. We talk about that a lot, and I think it says something about him that he keeps those tattoos. And so I'm, again, I don't think he's a Nazi, but the thing I can't get over is you gotta get rid of that shit. Like, if you have moved beyond that and you have a tattoo like that, you have to prioritize getting that off of you. Like, here's my view. If you knew it was a Totenkopf a decade ago, then that's it. Case closed. That's extraordinary suspect at the least. Yeah, which is why I need to know. Like, I need to know whether or not this reporting is accurate. Like, if he knew it a decade ago and then came into this campaign and didn't get it covered prior to entering the race, like, that is not the act of a serious person. Or at the very least, not the act of someone who is, like, consistent enough and thoughtful enough to hold a position of leadership that he's going for. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. And, like, I'm, too many things have kind of come out and happened where I'm kind of like, I don't think this adds up. He's anti-Zionist, right? Would Jewish Insider be a Zionist org? Would they have motivated reason to make this story up? I don't know. But that's the thing. I don't have enough to go on in that direction. I don't have enough to go on. I also don't have enough to go on to like trust him on this. Like, I've already gone out on the branch about as far as I am willing to go, and this is too much. This is too much. They're not making up the fact that he has the goddamn tattoo. And still at this moment has it. So like I don't think you can run a successful or a campaign people can believe in when you've got a literal Nazi tattoo, and not just any Nazi tattoo, like the Nazi tattoo. Like it's like you've got the SS tattoo on you. You've got like the tattoo of the symbol of the guards of the gates of the fucking death camps on you. Like I'm sorry, like I gotta draw a line there. If he removes it and asks forgiveness, is that enough? How high do we set the bar? Genuinely, Brass Man, I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, to reiterate something I said earlier, I'm glad that this came out during the primary, because we've got opportunities to get other people in the race, or even like try and go it with Janet Mills, because even Janet Mills is going to be better than Susan Collins. But that being said, like, I mean, if he ever wanted to like get back into politics, it's going to take like actual action and like, a decade of work on his part. I believe in the ability for people to learn and grow and get better, but like, this is this is not a jump that I can make. Yeah, there is also another candidate that I don't know that much about, named Daira Smith Rodriguez. Just taking a quick look here. Here's her campaign video. Take a look.
I'm Daira Smith Rodriguez.
It's so loud. Holy shit.
Air Force civilian contracting officer and proud union member. Every defense project has thousands of parts. My job was to source, negotiate, verify, and hold people accountable. The military-industrial defense complex on one side of the table, and you and me on the other. And I took that responsibility very seriously. My dad was a test pilot. My husband is a National Guardsman, and I'm a decorated civil servant. National security is the family calling. So it's important to me that these things work, that we don't get ripped off, and that our weapons and tax dollars don't fuel a campaign of genocide in Gaza. That's why I'm running for Senate. I stand up and I speak out if I see things that don't add up. The oligarchy is not 1,000 miles away, it's right here. They're taking a cut, they're making a profit, and millions of Americans are surrounded by food they can't eat. And Big Food owns Congress. So all we get are thousands of bad choices. Food labeling, broken. Food safety, broken. Supply chains, broken. And nobody is looking out for us. But keep your receipts and send them to me. I can tell you why it's making you sick and why it's so damn expensive. Aggressive auditing and oversight. That's what I did for the Air Force and what I'm gonna do in the Senate. Maine needs a senator with the experience of taking on the wealthiest interests in America. Someone who understands the courage it takes to stand up to truly powerful people. Men with whole armies behind them. I'm not afraid. I've got the receipts. My husband and I were stationed around the world for the last 5 years. We returned to a housing market that's completely unaffordable, and something has to change. America is not a business, no matter what they tell you. We're dreamers and patriots. We're families. And we're one people with one more chance. Join me.
Like, I'm not mad at this candidate. I am kind of the same opinion as Somnio Satic, though, where I'm like, oh man, I really wish she wasn't the representative of like the military industrial complex. But like, I think she could do it. So I'm kind of like, I don't know much about her. I can't give her like a full stamp endorsement, but yeah, I'm just saying you have other options other than Janet Mills in the main Senate race, but you know, yeah, I am glad that in this, when she's talking about like her military industrial complex work, she also is like, but not Gaza though. Like that's not good. That's bad. You know, I think that that's fine. She's giving off chemicals in the food vibes. Yeah, look, I'm just kind of like, oof. If we got Janet Mills, we got the guy with the Nazi tattoo, and we got this lady. You know, is Platner in DSA? I don't believe so. Maine does ranked choice voting in the primary? I believe so. Wait, I don't know in the primary. I know in the state level race, yes. There are 8 other Dem candidates.
I see some support on Jordan Wood.
Okay. I'll take a look. Again, not I you know, the horse I was betting on turns out to have a Nazi tattoo. So, you know, I I need to do some looking to figure out what's going on in the main race now. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And it is worth noting that Bernie Sanders is continuing to back Graham Platner. Excellent candidate. Sanders defends Maine Senate candidate amid Nazi tattoo controversy. Let's see here. He said, there's a young man who served his country in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he went through some really difficult experiences seeing friends of his killed or whatever. And in spite of all that, he had the courage to run, Sanders shared in a statement. I personally
J.K.
think
Stadler.
he is an excellent
What
candidate.
sort of
I'm
man
going to
wears a
support
toting
him.
cough? Waldorf Goggins. A dumb cough. Oh ho 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 ho.
Paladin, thank you for the $5 dono. Very much appreciated. Such a birdie thing. Yeah, like, or whatever. So I gotta be honest, to kind of put a bow on this, I don't have a clear-cut answer, because at the end of the day, I think people are messy. And I don't think that this guy is a Nazi. I don't think that based on basically all of his public-facing statements. But I do think that this bare minimum indicates that he's not ready to serve in the Senate. You know, new information always can come out, as we've seen. You know, new information updates perception. But where we are right now, I just can't do this. Can't do it. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But right now, I can't do a Nazi tattoo. We'll talk when it's fully defaced off his body. Okay, we'll see what's happened by then. If he can't make up for his past mistakes, then when will he be ready? What are we doing? Oh, look, I'm just saying, there's past mistakes and then there's current mistakes, and what we're talking about right now is a current mistake. You know, like this is. I guess that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like, some of the past mistakes are pretty explicable, and I understand, and like growth and change is possible, but like we're talking right now about a current fucking mistake, and it's not really explicable at this point in time. So I'm not gonna sit here and ride or die for this guy, because politicians are not your friends, and you should never put them on pedestals. And the goal for every single political campaign is policy. That being said, I am done with this guy. I'll update you if anything new happens, but right now, that's it's pretty shitty. I'm just really disappointed. Same here, Regington Mogus. Re-electing Susan Collins is also a mistake, but it wasn't the binary choice of either Susan Collins or this guy. Again, 8 other candidates in the race.
In another climate, I might be able to forgive it, but forgiving fascist iconography right now is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, and also, like, a lot of this information dropped yesterday or today. So I'm kind of like, until I see more, I'm not gonna say more. You know, kind of where I'm at. And Brutus Magnuson, thank you for the $5 super chat. Yeah, like, I don't know, 20 years is a long time to have to cover up a tattoo. He should literally release a full recording of it being removed and disavow it through gritted teeth while the lasers sear it off. Honestly, yeah. Like bare minimum, like something along those lines. And then I want to see I want to see action, and I can't even articulate what kind of action would be sufficient in this circumstance. So I'm kind of lost, which is why I haven't really put forward an idea of how you would even go about reconciling this stuff. It's all today. Okay, some people were commenting on my stream from 3 a.m. this morning saying that this information had come out. We need to talk about it, but like I was unaware of it when I was streaming last night. This election isn't until 2026. Nope, it's not until 2026. We're still in the primary season for this election, so there's a wide field of candidates. It's not an either or question at the moment. This is why primaries are awesome. Yeah, it's great that this all came out during the primary season rather than during the general. Like, holy shit. We would be absolutely fucked if this came out during the general.
Waldorf Goggins. Jack did not see this coming. J.K. Stadler. Yeah, his politics were leftist, but his tattoos were right. Oh ho 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 ho.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.